Meat has been a staple of the human diet throughout our existence, and it is a food that many people derive pleasure from eating. In addition to flavor, texture is an essential characteristic of meat, and it plays an important role in a consumer's satisfaction and enjoyment. The primary textural characteristics of meat include tenderness, juiciness, cohesiveness, and springiness. Because texture relates to the complicated nature of consumer sensory experience, it can be difficult to measure, quantify, and predict. Various instruments and methods have been developed which attempt to evaluate textural attributes of meat products. Common ones include the Warner-Brasler shear force test, texture profile analysis, Kramer shear cell, and the Moulinet-Owens razor shear blade test. While these tests can provide information on some textural parameters, the correlation of measurements with consumer sensory evaluation is essential to their usefulness in determining meat quality. This video will give an overview of these methods, including their applications and some of their deficiencies. The Warner-Brasler shear force test is one of the most widely used methods for evaluating meat tenderness. It uses a V-shaped blade to measure the shear force necessary to cut through a meat sample. The test is intended to mimic cutting through meat by biting, and it combines shear, compressive, and tensile forces. The results are presented as a measurement of firmness. One challenge of this method is that consistency in sample preparation is essential to obtain reliable results. All samples should be cooked by the same method to a consistent temperature. They also must be cut into a uniform, cylindrical shape before analysis. This can be quite difficult for some meat products. Another drawback is that there has been some debate over the correlation of Warner-Brasler measurements and sensory evaluations. As you can see in this chart, taken from a study on pork loin tenderness, the correlation coefficients are quite low. The texture profile analysis, or TPA test, is another method often used to analyze meat texture. It involves a 2-cycle compression test intended to imitate biting. It is used to evaluate texture by measuring multiple different parameters, including hardness and adhesiveness, as seen in this graph. Others include cohesiveness, springiness, and chewiness. The multitude of parameters make this a useful method for a variety of products. As seen in this chart, TPA tests can give more information on a meat product than Warner-Brasler, and the measurements have been shown to have higher correlations with sensory results. The Kramer shear cell is another method of measuring meat tenderness. This method uses multiple blades to shear the sample. It is particularly useful for meat products with irregular or inconsistent geometry, such as shredded chicken. This test incorporates shearing, compression, and extrusion of the sample to obtain an evaluation of tenderness by measuring the maximum shear force. The Moulinet-Owens razor shear blade, or MORS for short, is a more recent method for measuring meat texture. It uses a single sharp blade with defined dimensions to slice through the sample and measure shear force. Advantages of this method over others include its simplicity, speed, and accuracy. In particular, sample preparation is much easier and quicker because the exact dimensions and geometry do not significantly impact results, as it does with the previously mentioned methods. This video has gone over a few of the most common methods for analyzing meat products. Each one has its own advantages and disadvantages, so the choice of method ultimately depends on the product being analyzed and what kind of information is desired by the analyst.